Well, welcome to Talking About Speedway. Con Migro and Graeme Sinden with you, and we're here, Con, after a bit of a break from the Perth Motorplex, but plenty of racing on the East Coast.
Wonderful to be with you once again, Graeme, and yes, a month with no action as far as Speedway is concerned at the Motorplex, although they had turn-away crowds for the monster trucks and the burnout competition. So the Motorplex has been very much alive and well, and we're looking forward to now, 5 race meetings in 9 days, so it's going to be simply absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. Con, can we talk about the Australian Sprintcar Championship, which has been the big one, I suppose, on the East Coast, although there's been a huge amount of meetings and big ones, including the Classic, but the Sprintcar Championship has been the most recent and won by Jock Goodyer.
Yeah, well, he's the guy that, you've heard me say this before. I've even told his father the same thing, that I put him in the same bracket as the Ivan Majors, the Ove Fundens, the Gary Rushes, all those John Fentons, all those Graham Jones, all those great racers that have that special little touch that makes them a little bit different to the rest of the fields.
Well, Con, excuse me, do you remember up the Highline deck where we sat, Jock Goodyer's father sat with us or close to us, and we spoke to him, and he said to Jock that if you want to be the best, you've got to race the best, and that's why he came over to race in West Coast for all those weeks prior to going on the big races on the East Coast.
What a wise decision his father, or wise advice his father gave him, and the wise decision he made to come here and race, because he was racing against the best, and you had, a High Limit and World of Outlaw stars, plus the great Kyle Larson, and it doesn't get any better than that ever in the history of the sport, to have an opportunity to race against those guys. And a young man like Goodyer, he would have been like a blotting paper, taking in everything that happened on the track with them.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start, Con, with the Australian Sprint Car Championship, looking at our own couple of fellows there in Ron Cricky and the big chap, Noel Bradford.
Yeah, well, Noel Bradford in those days, his car was prepared out of Ray Coyle's Osborne Park factory, and Steve Coyle, the father of Chris Coyle, was the crew chief, so that was a bit of interesting information. And Ron Cricky went on to win 2 Australian titles. He won them both at Claremont, but a very, very good driver, and still to this day I look at him often and I think he's still fit. He could probably hop in a race car and turn it up a couple of laps.
Ron is in good trim, I have to say, Con. You're absolutely right. Here's the man of the moment, and I said to you off air, Con, that I think Borderline Speedway must have known something, because they put this up as one of their promo photos for the Australian Sprint Car Championship, and lo and behold, he won the thing. Well,
Billy Barrows, who's a legend in that part of Australia, he would have known that this young guy's got more than a better chance of winning it. So I'm pleased to note that in the off-season of this year, they're going to lengthen the size of the Mount Gambier track, and I think that's a very good decision, because sprint cars in these modern days need to have bigger tracks to race on now.
Yes, you're quite right, Con. And a lot of carnage was created on the track as well, so that was a bit unfortunate, because these guys need a good crack at it. I think when you're talking about an Australian Championship, that's where your name goes into the history books forevermore, and you want a good chance to have a crack and win those things.
You definitely do.
So look, Con, it was over 2 nights, as you know, and night 1 belonged to Jock Goodyer. He was prominent and dominant all weekend, wasn't he?
Yes, and that was tremendous to see him win the title, as I said. Ryan Newton, the young Queenslander, who we sort of half own a little bit, we think him, he finished 3rd, and Lockie McHugh is a young guy that's been up there for so many years, and another outstanding competitor. I think the sad news from this event was that Callum Williamson decided that he wouldn't contest the last night because he was down to 1 motor. He's had a tough year. He's wrecked 3 cars, and he's blown a couple of motors. And I think he realised if he wants to finish off the Perth Motorplex season, he better hightail it home, and that's what he's done. He's come back home, and he's preparing for this weekend.
And he had a big crash, didn't he, in the lead-up races? I forget which race it was now, but a steering box failure and sent him into the fence, so that didn't help his East Coast campaign as well.
No, you're dead right. And those things happen, and you go through those runs, and he's resilient. He'll bounce back again, and I'm sure that over this next couple of weeks at the Motorplex, he'll be again up at the top of his wazza.
So, Con, let's have a look at the points after night one at the Australian Championship. And as you can see, all the normal suspects are up there high on the list, as was Caden Manders, who was in about, let's have a look, about 8th place in points after the first night.
Yes, well, you made an interesting observation, and no doubt when we get to have a look at the times, even though he was just about to be lapped and he was in the top half dozen in the field. So that's the smallness of the Mount Gambier track that allows drivers to do that. They get a run. But what I watched the telecast, Jock Goodyer, he was just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And he was lucky to even make the final because of the someone losing a wheel during the night and crashing through his car. And so, they say an ounce of luck's worth a fortune. Well, it certainly was for him on that night.
Con, you just mentioned you watched the telecast, and over the weekend I also watched the telecast, the Night Thunder Channel 7 telecast, and you and I and lots of other people in this business watch a lot of television on sprint car racing in particular. And I have to say and want to say that coverage that Channel 7 Night Thunder puts out is just absolutely first rate. I don't know that I've seen a television broadcast with that quality, clarity, the composition, the camera angles and all that sort of stuff. It is just absolutely outstanding. And I'm saying to people, if you haven't seen Night Thunder on Channel 7, do yourselves a favour and have a look at it. It's just superb.
Yeah, well, that show was my show back for over 40 years ago, and we had the likes of the Jeff Newmans, the Ross Duncanans, the David Christensen. We had some very good teams. And Gary O'Keefe, who is now the head of AFL football, was a cameraman and a director of our Night Thunder show. And now we've got Dean Neal. So a succession of very talented men. And Dean is probably the most Speedway man because he came from Speedway, originally working for us at the Motorplex, or Claremont Speedway and the Motorplex. We used to call him Trackside Dean in those days. And he formed a great friendship with Gavin Migro. And as you said, the rest is history, and the telecast we're seeing is world class. And I know that the Americans have been raving about the vision that was sent back to America for their Flow television series in America. And I believe the numbers there, Graeme, were in the tens of thousands.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we digress a little bit, but importantly, Con, because, as I said, that telecast is second to none anywhere in the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dean, I must make that Dean's done a couple of things like with the drones over the top of the racetrack. We know in front of us there's a zip wire that flips across the racetrack, and people say, how do they get those shots? Well, that's what they do. Yeah. They have and the Motorplex also telecasts very nice. It's a brilliant location and venue with the new starting roads, the chutes and that, and the motorcycle track on the infield. It's a really spectacular looking venue.
And, of course, they've got plenty of other skilled people. Dean Neal, I'm talking about, with show screens and all those people that go together to put that show together in conjunction with Channel 7. So a big, big congratulations to all of the team that put that broadcast out.
Good on you, mate.
Let's move on now to night two, and Jock Goodyer again came up trumps 2 feature races in 2 successive nights to claim the Australian Sprintcar Championship. You can't do any better than that, Con. He's proved himself to be, he's already been an Australian champion, proved himself to be a top sprint car driver in Australia, and remains so, doesn't he?
Yes, and I did make a mistake a while ago. I said Lockie McHugh was in the top 3, was in the top 4. James McFadden, we also claim him a little bit because he's driving for Sheldon Brady, a wonderful driver. I think at several stages during that A main, I think he thought, and everyone thought that he was going to pounce, but Goodyear was just too strong. McFadden was second, and Ryan Newton, the Queensland, then Lockie McHugh, Todd Mole, and Dane Kingshot, the former Australian Speedcar champion and leading West Australian driver at the moment, finished in 6th place. So that was a very good effort.
I made a comment again to you, Con, off air that, you can have a paddock of 70-odd cars, 59 cars, I think it was in the case of the Australian Sprint Car Championship, but in some instances, you only need a field of top 35 cars or thereabouts to keep everyone honest because when you're at that level, all of the normal suspects come out, don't they? Yeah. You can clearly see the McFaddens and Newtons, McHughes and those sorts of people. Dane Kingshot, I'll throw him in there as well. They're all prominent all the way through all these East Coast meetings, and when they come over here, they're the top guys that run up front.
It's a case of more is not necessarily better. But also, on the other side, I know that over the years that there are a lot of guys that race Speedway. They don't really want to win a feature. Well, they want to win a feature race, but they don't care if they don't win a feature race because all they want to do is make the field. And an Australian title, we have so many people that nominate for the Australian title, they just want to have it on their resume that they did qualify for the final 20 or the 25 or however the field was.
True. So there we are. Again, Jock Goodyer and his team, and I say his team because it does take a team effort to do these things, prepare your car 2 nights in a row, and torrid racing as well, doesn't it? So it's not just the driver behind the wheel, it's all of the people that go together to make up the team.
Yeah, well, I see his dad in the photo pumping his chest up. He'll have a head like a Bordenhouse pudding, as they say now, when he comes to Perth, and rightly so, because his son is one of the best drivers I've seen. The first time I saw him race at the Motorplex, I knew this kid had special talent. And as you say, he come here and he took a tough road to come to learn to race against the World of Outlaws, the high-limit drivers, and, of course, the great Kyle Larson. So, yeah, he's really stamped himself as one of the greats.
Well, when we first saw him over here, Con, I think he was less than 20 years old, probably.
Well, about 19. He's only about 24 now. Yeah. And he's won 2 Australian titles and he's been runner-up at 1. He's also won an Australian Formula 500 title. So, I mean, he's got a touch of gold.
A lot of miles under his belt on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Con, this is the slide that we were looking at prior to coming on air, and Jock Goodyer, James McFadden, Ryan Newton, Lockie McHugh, Todd Mill, Dane Kingshot, Daniel Pescott, and then we see Caden Manders down there in 9th place. A brilliant performance from him all week.
Yeah, and 10th place was Marcus Dumsney, and he is a former Australian champion. So it gives you an example of just how strong the field is. And you were just saying they're lapping the track in about 12 seconds. Well, Caden Manders as fast as it was 11.753, so he was on the verge of being lapped. In fact, Marcus Dumsney was 1 lap down, and he finished in 10th place.
Yes, at that on a little racetrack, small bowl. You can't afford to hang around too much because you get lapped easy, don't you, when they're lapping at around 12.5 seconds.
Sure can.
So even Dane Kingshot, let me have a look, he was nearly 9 seconds behind, so that's 3/4 of a lap behind, isn't it, in real terms?
Yeah, and we all know how good he is.
Oh, absolutely. Mind you, it was hard to make some progress because the racing was pretty hectic and, as we say, a lot of carnage in that main feature race. So, what do you say? It was just hard fought, and to win the thing, Jock Goodyer winning both nights was absolutely brilliant.
Well, we all know crashes happen on speedways, but if you can limit them as much as you can, and we're not without our crashes at the Motorplex, but with the fact that now Mount Gambier are going to make that track bigger, it's a very good move. And now the next thing is that I hope that the Warrnambool people, the fathers of the city of Warrnambool, could now get behind the club and allocate them some extra land so they can expand, because that event, they could make that into a 4 or 5 day happening because it's so popular.
Well, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Barbagallo Mr Sprintcar Nationals right here at the Perth Motorplex. Stay with us.
At Maddington Toyota, we're all about great deals, value, quality and service. Head to our website for quality new, demo and pre-owned vehicles with videos so you can find your perfect car. We can organise the details by phone and email and deliver the car right to you. Check out the entire Toyota range, plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles, all backed by our real commitment to great service. Maddington Toyota, great deals and great service. Oh, what a feeling.
This is it, the Barbagallo Australian Sprintcar Nationals at Perth Motorplex. 2 huge nights, February 6 and 7. USA stars and Australia's best right here. History in the making, the best of the best. Mr Sprintcar Glory up for grabs. $40,077 to win. Monster fireworks and world-class racing at Australia's best speedway. It doesn't get much better than this. The Barbagallo Sprintcar Nationals. Grab your Mr Sprintcar Superpass. Motorplex.com.au. You'll be there.
Welcome back. You're watching Let's Talk Speedway. Thanks for your company. Con Migro, let's move now on to the Barbagallo Mr Sprintcar Nationals.
Yeah, well, we're going to honour one of my dear friends in life, and also a wonderful race car driver, wonderful sprint car driver, and a wonderful human being. And I think that anyone that wins that award, I know how much that means to a lot of people. It's similar to what the Michael Figlamini does award, the one that we give away at the end of each year. a lot of people, they're only interested in getting the Michael Fickler Mini Cup because it's so important to them.
Yes, indeed. Con, let's have a look at the man they call Alf Barbagallo. He's been a champion over many years and still involved in Speedway to this day, some 25 odd years after he hung up the helmet.
Yeah, well, you know, he won 6 WA titles, second in the world sprint car title. He was second in several Australian titles. He won so many big events. He was the man that really, in a lot of respects, the modern day car we are now seeing on Australian tracks. Alf was really responsible because he bought one of the first of those types of cars when they arrived in Australia. And I remember the night that Gary Rush won the Australian title at Bunbury, going back in history, he had purchased that car the day before from the great Alf Barbagallo, and Alf Barbagallo run second to him. So virtually Alf, I wouldn't say that he gave him a title, but because Gary is such a wonderful driver, but you know, it's amazing that Alf had that car and he sold it to Gary.
Mm. It was the Throstle cars he first started bringing across, wasn't it?
He bought Throstle cars. He had the Anderson car as well, and then the Gamblers. I mean, I went on a trip to America, and I can tell with Alf didn't muck around. He didn't go and buy 1 or 2 tyres. He'd have a 44 foot container full of tyres, and he'd buy motors. I mean, he really put his money where his mouth is, and he set and he had Jeff Murphy working, Tony Bartlett, those sorts of guys that were working on the race car, Megsy Sarikazana, all those people that were with him, and his brother Tony, although Tony says he doesn't like Speedway so much now these days, but I think that the whole Barbagallo family really made a wonderful contribution to the sport.
Talking about contribution to the sport, Con, I put this picture up on a post just the other day for your birthday, in fact. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Belated now, but how good is that photo with Alf, yourself and Ron Cricky talking about Barbagallo night, talking about the Australian Championship? It's a great photo. I love it.
Well, all 4 people are making a wonderful contribution, have made a wonderful contribution to the sport. Ron Cricky, as I said earlier in my conversation, he looks fit enough to still go and jump in a race car, and I'm not saying that we'd ever tempt him, but you know, it's funny, the day that Claremont closed, he closed that passage of his life and said, no, that's it now. We all know he hailed from Bunbury, and then his brother and John, they went and run the Bunbury Speedway for a couple of seasons, and now he's now having the fruits of life, touring Australia in a caravan and going to Speedway.
Lovely, lovely. Here's a couple of Alf's cars. Don't they look good, albeit almost foreign to the current day sprint car?
Yeah, well, the black one on the photo there, that's in his car collection. He's got a wonderful car collection out of his Osborne Park car yard, and Jeff Murphy restored that car, and unbeknown to Alf, when that car was being restored, he didn't know that it was being done. And of course, here's now a pic with the great Sean Curran with young Callum Williamson, and they the guys with showing a car or 2 of the cars in the collection of the great Sean Curran. There's got about 20 of them.
Well, I put that up particularly because Sean absolutely loves this Barbagallo race and the Cricky Boys shootout race, and these are 2 races he did up in the Barbagallo livery wall, the Barbagallo all over the thing. So Sean himself makes a great contribution, and in fact he's got 2 drivers that'll be driving in the Barbagallo Sprintcar Nationals.
Yeah, well, there is what more can we say? It's he's a guy that I remember when we were getting into our racing as far as sprint cars are concerned. Sean, he had a company out in Osborne Park, and we bought a lot of parts, and when we decided that enough was enough to sell our sprint cars, he sold all our gear for us. So we had a strong, long association in business with Sean.
Now, Con, let's have a look at the field for Friday and Saturday night's racing at the Barbagallo Mr Sprintcar Nationals. How good is that?
We've got 15 visitors from interstate and overseas, and that's tremendous to think that they still have got the urge to go and race and come across to Perth now. The weather's going to be sensational, and this is what they want to do. They're doing 5 race meetings in 9 days. So it starts off this Friday, Saturday, or Wednesday tonight, tomorrow night. Then the next week is the midweek mayhem, and then we go back to Friday and Saturday when we crown the Mr Sprint Car, and also we've got the Cricky race coming. So it's a pretty big calendar in a very condensed time.
Well, as I said earlier, Sean Curran has got Kerry Madsen in the 95 Blue Angels car and Ryan Newton in the number 77 white livery car. So thanks, Sean, for making sure those two drivers appear here. But there's plenty of other good drivers, including Lockie McHugh in the number 26 car, the Diamond Bay Bunbury-based car.
Well, there's no excuses to be made in that car because it's a ripper. And Aaron Ritzel, I've talked to Luch Monty yesterday, is putting a brand spanking new car on the racetrack for Aaron to race. So we can look forward to him. We know he finished the season in Australia pretty well on the East Coast. He won the Warrnambool Classic, and they now know the car's going well, and Aaron's been doing a lot of work on the new race car, so we can look forward to some big things.
But Con, we said it before off air, and I think earlier on the program, that we've got all the contenders here from the Australian Championship. Jock Goodyer, McFadden, we've got Lockie McHugh, Ryan Newton. I mean, all the top runners in the Australian Championship are here racing at the Perth Motorplex.
Well, if we had a field of this car, just say this was the Australian title, I mean, you couldn't want to have any better, really.
No.
And another thing I must make a mention of, the fact that tall Tom Hooper makes his debut in a sprint car. Now, he was a champion Formula 500 race. He's been out of the sport about 5 years. A hell of a nice young man. Now, don't expect that he's going to go and be rubbing wheels with Jock Goodyer, but give him a couple of seasons, and tall Tom could be talking in the same breath as we talk in the Callum Williamsons and the Dane Kingshot, the Caden Manders of the world, if he gets to grips with sprint car speedway racing.
Well, I don't think he spares too much money on the car, so best wishes to him on his debut. On a sad note, James Inglis has withdrawn. He's not in the best shape in health-wise, and we welcome back Michael Keane as well.
Yeah, well, that's good because see Keeney back, and these guys have kept racing in the 360, although Michael had a forced holiday, but we're looking forward to seeing him go, and of course the car he drives, we all know, is a very good car, and he's supported by a wonderful West Australian who, if he really gets going, he can spend a few bucks and be up there with all the best of them.
Yeah. And talking about race drivers returning, it was going to be the return for Joe Latham after his wife Jasmine's injury, spinal injury. But getting the kids off to school and managing the business and doing all the other things, understandably, he couldn't make it for this meeting, but he will return this season.
Yeah.
Jasmine's in good shape. She's moving her legs now, and the physios are really pleased with her progress. So what a great story that is, Con.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm pleased to see that Kerry Madsen's staying over again. He can be starting normally in February in down the other side of America, Florida, so he's going to make his American debut or return a little bit later than normal, but that shows you how important these events are, the Mr. Sprint Car and the Cricky Boys races. So these guys are coming over here because they know it plays serious prize money, but also it's an event that got a lot of quantity and quality to it.
Well, also the other American, Justin Whittle, and as you said earlier, Aaron Rutzel in the Monty Motorsport team. So three Americans really. We'll put Kerry in that class, have stayed over rather than going back and joining their teams in America.
Well, ice and stay over there versus sunshine in Perth. Where would you rather be?
Yeah. Con, let's just have a look. This is the support acts at the Perth Motorplex for the Barbagallo Australian Mr. Sprintcar Nationals. So plenty of sprint car action. We've got 360, LS1s and limited sprint cars, and we've also got some Opel Finance Formula 500 racing. Not all on the same night, but over the 2 nights. And
would anyone going to beat Cody Taraccio? We might have to put a little banner on us. Who can beat this man? Wanted to win or something like that. Put a bit of a bounty on his head because, my goodness gracious, he's had 2 unbelievable seasons.
Absolutely. Con, can we just quickly reflect before we start racing on Friday, Saturday night, the Maddington Toyota Sprint Car Series? We've got Dane Kingshot still in the lead, 1874. There's been no change in the point scores in the last 3 weeks while the boys have been in the East Coast. Callum Williamson still in second and Caden in third. What a great competition the Maddington Toyota Sprint Car Series is. Yeah, and I bet you that Taylor Milling, who's in fourth with 17.38, and Daniel Harding in fifth with 17.24, they'll be itching to get back into the saddle. So it's going to be on. The hostilities for the Maddington Toyota Sprint Car Series is on again, and it starts in earnest this Friday night. And after 13 rounds on the Boy and Upseller Sprint Car Driver of the Year, Dane Kingshot still in the lead, 73 points again. No change in those, but that competition is due to crank up again on Friday and Saturday night, so we'll update those points as we go forward.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
There's been plenty of racing here in Western Australia. Down at Albany, Joel Ettridge was successful yet again. What a season he's having.
Yeah, he's a fine driver, and he only probably lacks us a few dollars because we all know that it's a pretty expensive sport to be in. But Glenn Dickinson, the young man from down south, he did a very good job. Tristan Cayley, Jaron Bilby. It's good to see Jaron getting some results. And Anthony Gaudio from Geraldton finished in 6th place, so it's a pretty good effort.
And then we moved down to Esperance, and again, you mentioned Cody already, but what have you got to do to stop him?
Well, I'll tell you what, you'd probably have to get a car like that because he's got it all together. And to think that there were several seasons that he didn't race at the Motorplex, only reasons that he could tell you. But well, if he'd been racing there, he probably would have been giving Stephen Element more of a headache.
Yeah, so congratulations to Cody Taraccio. Brendan Marshman second. He's always up on the pointy end, isn't he? And Logan Harris on 3rd place.
Yeah, good to see.
And, Con, I wanted to show this. Tyler Courtney, after 6 months out with serious injury, won the first race back in sprint car racing at that level. How good is that?
Well, we all know he's a class act. In fact, before we go off the air, there's a series on YouTube on TV. If anyone wants to pick it up, it's on the great Kyle Larson. Tyler Courtney and Justin Grant and all those sorts of guys figures very prominent in that particular series. So if you want to see a good Speedway series, pure Speedway, speed cars and sprint cars, it's on YouTube.
Okay, very good. And let's move on. Just quickly reminding folks, Let's Talk Speedway, Sports Radio 91.3 Sport FM. It's Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Please tune in and bring yourself up to date with all that's happening. And we will have some news on the Barbagallo Sprintcar Nationals. And then if we can move back now, I've got to put the next one up. So let's have a look at this. The Spirit of Speedway, another radio show that we do, bringing you up to speed with all the news in Speedway here in Western Australia and around the country. SEN Radio 621 AM, The Spirit of the Southwest, Friday afternoon at 2 p.m.
Yes, top news and views from the world of speed with Graeme and Connors. Look forward to it. It's going to be wonderful. Good to be with you, Graeme, once again, and look forward to being with you over the weekend.
All right, before we go, watch out for Let's Talk Sprint Cars on the big screen at the Perth Motorplex, Saturday afternoon prior to racing. So that's another show that we bring you. And, of course, that one we can bring you up to speed with the very latest on what's happening around the world.
Thank you.
So, Con, as you said, nice to be a show, a big one again, with plenty of news and views. And, boy, am I looking forward to the Barbagallo night, Friday and Saturday of this week.
I'm likewise with you. Good to be with you once again, Graeme. Thank you.
Thanks for your company. We'll be with you again this time next week. Bye for now.